I wanted to talk to the world right now. The world, or anybody who has eyes to see, ears to hear, and a mouth that'll confess. So right now I'm here to confess something that changed my walk in life, that changed my path in life. Um, and I was asleep and I woke up and this hit me of a test that the Creator had set before me. And the Creator was giving me a chance to choose a path. And now this thing happened when I was early teenager. And if anybody grew up in the South, you knew that there's a certain time of the year everybody would get their hair done. Oh, that's kind of get your hair done, get it whether they was whether you was getting a hot press or getting your hair plaited up and or something like that, and there was a group of people, and they all gathered at one house to do hair, right? So I was sitting in the chair. It was my turn to get my hair done, and I was getting some plaits put in my hair. And I was getting some plaits put in my hair. And as I was sitting there, I was surrounded by these people. I'm not going to say who the people are. I'm not even going to say who house we was at. But y'all know back in the day, the older houses had those big picture windows. And, you know, in the daytime, you would open your curtains up on those big picture windows and let the sun come in. And we was sitting there. I'm not going to say if I was in the living room, in the kitchen, but we was sitting there. I was sitting in a chair, getting my hair plaited up, and this little girl walked by. She walked by the picture window going down the street because the house was facing the street. And I'm sitting there, and all the adults was having a conversation. You know how adults are. They're sitting there gossiping and talking back and forth, talking about different things. And you just sit there, you be quiet because you grew up in the South. You know, a child's supposed to stay in a child's place. You don't get in the middle of adult conversation. So let's go back to the little girl. Now this little girl was walking by, and she was coming from the right side going towards the left. Y'all, I can remember this clear as day. And everybody who know me know that I was in a bad car accident in 2016, and I had a couple of other incidents that happened after that caused me to have a a traumatic brain injury, which messed up my short-term memory. Now my long-term memory is fine. It's my short-term memory that I have a problem with. So now I have to write stuff down. Before I didn't used to have to write stuff down. Before that I used to actually have a photographic memory. I was even tested by the military for my photographic memory. So they said your memory is pretty good. But so before that, I had a photographic memory. All I had to do was look at something like one time, and it would be stuck in my head. So this is one of the incidents where something was stuck. It was something that got stuck in my head. It's why I never liked watching scary movies and stuff like that, because that stuff would stick in my head. I don't like watching anything with too much violence in it and stuff like that, because that kind of stuff would stick in my head. And in fact, I hardly ever even watch TV. I mostly read books. So I digress. Now I can see it's clear as a day, y'all. It's playing back in my head like a movie. This little girl is walking, and she's going from the right to the left, going up the street into the neighborhood. And so the adults around me began to have a conversation, and they began to insult this little girl. And the only reason I even knew what the age of this little girl was is because one of the adults in the room verbally said she was 9. She is 9. Look at her. She's a little 9-year-old girl. She fast tail. She a little fast tail little girl. Y'all, you know they used to say that in the South, calling little girls fast tail. Then I heard another adult say that she was trying to get an older man in trouble because he was molesting her. He was molesting this 9-year-old girl. And they began to call the little girl a whore. They began to call the little girl all kind of names. And that was a revelation for my eyes, y'all. Because as I'm sitting there, I became aware that adults knew that people were molesting little kids. Now, I didn't know what the name of that was at that time, but this shock came over me. This shock came over me sitting in that chair while these people were doing hair. And I was flabbergasted, y'all. And I'm sitting there like my brain is like wanting to jump up from the chair and yell at them. I wanted to jump up from that chair and yell at them. But at the time I didn't know that was the word, what that was. So some time went by and I was thinking about this situation, and I was just in utter shock, y'all. In utter shock. And I was like, these adults know this stuff is going on. These adults know this stuff is going on. And that became a turning point in my life, y'all. Now, I had an opportunity right there to take two different paths. Now, as I'm pondering and contemplating these things, because I'm not saying nothing to the adults, I'm just sitting there. And I don't know if they were saying that in front of me to influence me or influence the other children in the room, because I wasn't the only child in the room. Even though I was early teenager, I wasn't the only child in the room when this was happening, y'all. I wasn't the only person. I wasn't the only one. Okay? So, but as for me, I didn't even have a conversation with the kids about what I heard, nothing. I just went into thought mode. I just was sitting there thinking. No more, no, I didn't, it just shut me up for a while. It shut me down because I was in shock that these adults knew that a 9-year-old was getting molested, and they blamed the 9-year-old. They blamed the 9-year-old, y'all. And so I went to school not too long after that. And you know how you're thinking about stuff and thinking about stuff. And I was like, how do I figure out what to do? So I went to the library and I started doing research in books about this thing. Like, what do children do? How can they help themselves, that kind of stuff. Who to go talk to, where do I need to go, that type of thing. And that changed my perspective on how I dealt with it. Now, this is during the time when I still thought that the government and the institutions that was around us was supposed to help you if you need help. You can call these different institutions, and if you need help, you can call them, and they will come and help you, especially if you're a child. And of course, over time, I found out that that was false. That was false. That the adults that are running these things are involved in it as well. But when I was reading these books, and it was telling me, in the books I read, it showed that this is a mental illness. This is mental illness. These people are mentally ill. And I began down a different road because there was the opportunity that the Creator gave me to see that, yes, adults knew of these things happening. Adults didn't want to do anything about it, and adults were blaming children. And I began to look at people so different. So different. And you got to realize how I saw things. Because from my perspective, I never would have thought that somebody would want to do sex from behind. How do I say? I'm going to say it like that. Because I knew that poop came out from behind. And I was thinking I thought nobody would ever want to do that. So I began to pray for boys. I began to pray that I had sons, because I didn't want to bring a daughter in this world for her to get attacked like they was attacking that little girl. I didn't want to bring a little girl in this world. I didn't want to do that. So I was like, if I have kids, I only want boys. I only want boys, because I thought boys would be safe. Because who would, in their right mind, would want to have poop on them? But I learned different. I learned different eventually, y'all. But that's how naive I was. I just never thought somebody would want to do that. But fast forward is every time after that, I decided I didn't want to be like those people. I didn't want to associate with somebody like that. So I always would talk to people in a certain kind of way to see what their mindset was. And if eventually people will reveal themselves, because I had a conversation with my grandma, and she was just like, give people time. She said usually it takes a couple of years, but people true colors come out. People true colors come out. And they can only hide how what their true intentions are for a couple of years. So I would throw out little things to see in different conversations to see how and when and what would how do people react when you say things. And if they begin to come up with excuses for stuff like that, or um the ones that I heard over years as well as they can't help themselves, and that's why I never like it when people say they can't help themselves. That's why I never like that, because I would get that would be one of the answers that people would give for adults um, doing that type of thing to children. That would be one of the answers. And then it would be, well, somebody did it to them. So that's why they're doing it. Or to be, um, so if somebody did it to them, they can't help themselves. And then people just do that to children all the time. It's no big deal. Those are the things that I heard from people over my lifetime. And y'all got to realize I'm 50 years old, and this happened when I was a teenager. So this is over 30 years, y'all. Over 30 years, almost what, 35 years that I would sit and test people, and then people would wonder why I never wanted to be around them no more. I didn't want to talk to them. Didn't want to be on the phone with them. I didn't want to be around these people no more. Because for me, that was the most embarrassing thing I ever seen in my life, is to watch grown ass people, y'all, grown people, to sit and listen to grown people blame a 9-year-old for what an adult was doing. So I began to tell people that children have no control over what their parents do, what the adults around them do, the people in charge do. You don't have no power over you, but the children don't. But once the children get to a certain age, they have a choice to choose to go to the left and say that I can't beat them. Since we can't beat them, let's join them. Or you can be one of those people that say, I don't want nothing to do with this. So I became the person that said, I don't want nothing to do with this. And I was the person that was turning people in. Every time I would find out something about it, I was turning folks in. Now, this is during the time when I thought that our government was here to help us. I was again, another naive thought that our government was here to help us. Our government is not here to help us. The only person that's going to help you is yourself. And the Creator gave you the power to help yourself. And for you to be still sitting around waiting on somebody to come and swoop in and save you, when the Creator gave you the power of a no, and to turn away from stuff and to walk away from stuff. Again, I did a video just a few days ago about you making a choice. The Creator laid before you what is good and what is bad. And it's up to you. You have to pick the path. That is your choice. So I believe that was a turning point for me with the Creator. Because I began to do research on different, when I have a revelation of stuff, when people was doing certain things, or how they was doing certain things, I would go look stuff up. Y'all, before I wanted to actually be a psychiatrist. I wanted to be a psychiatrist, but I decided I didn't want to be a psychiatrist. I decided to be a chef instead. But I wanted to be a psychiatrist because I wanted to help people with their mental illness. Because when I read those books, y'all, it said that these people were mentally ill. And for someone to sit up and allow somebody who is mentally ill to keep doing this. And then, y'all, the books that I read said most predators have at least 300 victims. And that most predators are never caught. Most predators are never caught. This is what I read as an early teen. And so this is why became public enemy number one with people. Because I had a revelation. I didn't go down the path of, if I can't beat them, I'm going to join them. I didn't go down that path. That's when people started attacking my character, stuff like that, because every time I would see something like that, I would say something. I would tell the kid, I would even tell the child this is wrong. And I would tell the children to say something to the adult and tell the adult you're going to tell. And I would tell as many people that would listen. But this is why I became public enemy number one. But it also prepared me for this time now, because I am doing something again that goes against the norm. I am coming to you and showing you that the Creator has shown me that there's no such thing as religion. There's no such thing as all these different things. And that is what people are up against is their selves and their own choices. Y'all, I don't hang around a lot of people. I don't like being around a lot of people because I recognize that behavior. And it's way more people who has that type of behavior than not. Then there's a lot of people who will turn a blind eye to it. You are just as guilty by ignoring it or making excuses for that person. I think the worst incident that I found out that somebody was doing that, and the adults knew it, they were having a conversation about it, and they was like, well, yeah, this man messes around with kids, but we don't see no point in putting him in jail because he's a good mechanic. He's a good mechanic. So the up to 300 victims was a good trade-in because he was a good mechanic. Y'all, I don't like being around people, and I don't, because I see this all the time, and when I try to do something about it, I become enemies. The people become my enemy, and you know what? I don't care that they're my enemies, because I see you as a danger to society. Danger to the future generations. Danger, because these kids become psychologically scarred. They become scarred. It's the reason why when I moved away became old enough to move away, I went and got in therapy. I went and got therapy, and I always tell people go to therapy. I went into therapy because y'all, that revelation just shook me to the core. Like the creator was, if the creator gonna give somebody a test, that was a test, because that was a test. Because the fact that they was willing to say that in front of me, and it was no big deal that they was blaming a 9-year-old little girl for what an adult was doing. And this is the norm, y'all. Y'all, it is not the rarity, y'all. This is the norm. It is the norm. This is the norm. And it has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with whether you're rich or you poor. It is people are willing to look past this. This has to be some type of wicked spirit on people that they're willingly accepting. They're willingly accepting. It doesn't get people angry. It doesn't keep people frustrated. How do we know? Because we had one of the biggest things that happened with those files that came out, y'all. And you would think that the entire world would be in an uproar. And they weren't. The entire world was not in an uproar. And I keep teaching about what the Creator says about if you don't protect the widow and if you don't protect the children. I keep saying this for a reason. If you don't protect these children, I don't care what you accomplished in your life. I don't care where you've been. I don't care where you go. I don't care what kind of degrees you have. I don't care how much you ever donated to charity, all this kind of stuff. But if you turn a blind eye to this, and you did nothing, you said nothing, you didn't try to do anything about it. Me as a child, I began trying to do something about it. Now, was I perfect growing up? No. I had a lot of stuff to learn. Like I said, I had some naive moments in my life. I was naive that the government that was on our side. Very naive about that. But I grew up and learned. There were some things that I learned over time, and I was just shocked and astonished, and the Creator put me in positions to see these things. And I am here as a grown-ass woman, 50 years old, letting y'all know how the Creator put a test in front of me. And I made a decision then that I did not want to be like these people. And I delineated away from it. And I'm using delineate because that's a new word. But back here, I got away from them folks. And I get away from it. Anytime I see somebody acting like that, talking like that, and then if I have a conversation whether it's a woman or a man, and they make an excuse for it, I don't want nothing to do with them no more. And I don't even say nothing to them no more. I just get away from them. I report it. If nothing is done, if there's no investigation, I've done all that I can do. But I separate myself from them people. And I begin to put those children that they're around in my prayers every day. Because I know those children aren't safe around there. I don't give a damn what job they got. Well, I have a job and I got these degrees, and you got them degrees, and you are not smart enough to know that it is not a 9-year-old child's fault that an adult is hurting her. But you got all these degrees. You got all these papers slapped on your wall. Apparently those them papers didn't give you a conscience. You can't buy a conscience, people. You can't buy right from wrong. The Creator says in Deuteronomy 30, you don't have to go up to the heavens to look for what is right and wrong. You don't have to go and cross the ocean to look what's right and wrong. Right and wrong is inside of you. Because if it wasn't, I wouldn't have been astonished that day as they were sitting there plaiting my hair. They chose the direction they wanted. They chose the path that they wanted. They chose that path. I wanted to distance myself from that. And anybody else that was like them, whether I met them, whether I was met them at 16, 17, or whether I met them at 20 or 30. And then people want to get in your face and try to make you feel bad because certain people don't want to be around you. No, I don't want to be around them. And I don't want no children around them. Because them children aren't safe. They're not safe physically and they're not safe mentally. Because if you understand and understand what I'm trying to tell you, you do understand and understand these same people who blame the 9-year-old also blame other children for what adults did. It was the child's fault. They blame children. And it ain't changed. People are still doing it. Ain't nothing new under the sun. And y'all, I moved around in my lifetime. And at this point in time, I was in Texas. And I had decided I was going to go take some classes. Had nothing to do with getting a degree or anything. I just took some like bowling classes, different classes, because I wanted to learn to do some things so I can go have fun with my children. Because at this time now I got children. And as I was sitting there to go to the financial department to see how much I'm going to pay, this lady was sitting like next to me, and she was a little bit older. And I don't know what made this lady say this to me. I wasn't talking to her. I was just sitting there. And she just this an older so-called black lady, but we now know there's no such thing as black, but we didn't know. We was naive back then. There's no such thing as a black person. But she looks over me at me and she says, black girls aren't safe anywhere. That's what she said to me out of nowhere. And I was like, why did she say this to me? She said, black girls aren't safe anywhere. And I just looked over at her. I didn't say anything to her. And I just was just sitting there, just quiet and just looking at her. Like, why did you say that to me? Why did you say that to me? So, y'all, when y'all see me upset, when y'all see me angry, when y'all see me just with an attitude when I'm teaching, this is why. This is why. Because I know that there's no safe place for a so-called little black girl. There's no safe place for them. Who are we supposed to go to? Who? You can't go to the government. They're not trying to help us. You can't go to the police. You cannot go to the school. And you cannot go to your parents. Because they're not going to help you. The only people you can find, it would be reality. And these won't be people in position. They're not going to let a person have a job, have a high position who is against that stuff. So I'm not impressed with people in their jobs. I'm not impressed with people in their high-ranking jobs. I'm not impressed with people. What I'm impressed with people is when people help other people. And they do it out of sincerity and they do it from the bottom of their heart. Yo, I've met very few people that truly care and want to help people. I have another incident here, and I've told y'all about this story before about the little girl that was telling me how her grandpa and her uncle was doing stuff to her, and I went to the court. They did nothing about it. And I told them in that courtroom, y'all just got found guilty by the greater for not protecting the children. And they looked at me like it was a joke and it was a laugh. But the other incident that I had, this woman that used to work for me, she's from Ghana, and she used to work for me. Now, she told me that she's here in Colorado, and she told me that she saw somebody. She was at an apartment complex because she worked for me and she worked for another woman. She saw somebody two men snatch a girl, and the girl was running. She ran out of the apartment and she was naked. She was naked. And she saw the two men grab the girl and bring her back into the house. And she was naked, and they wrapped her in a sheet and brought her back in the house. She said, I'm going to pray that something happened to them. I said, did you call the authorities? Well, no, I didn't call the authorities. I didn't call it. I said, you can go leave an anonymous tip. You don't have to tell the people who you are. You can leave the anonymous tip, tell them where you saw this kidnapping at, where you saw it at. So I got her to take me to show where it was. And I show where it was where this happened, and then I reported it. But she was just like, well, I'm too concerned about my visa. I don't want them to know about, because I'm too concerned about my visa, because I'm over here on the work visa, and I don't want to get in the middle of that. I was like, you're too busy worried about your financial gain, and somebody's child is missing. Because she said the girl couldn't have been no more than 17, 18 years old. I said, somebody's child is missing and you're worried about your work visa. And I fired her. I fired her. I didn't want her at my house no more. Because what if something happened to me and she felt like it would mess with her work visa? What if something would happen to a child around her? She would be she already showed that she was too busy worried about making money than somebody's child being missing. So it has nothing to do with America. It's the world. Everybody's like this. She was worried about her financial state than somebody's child going missing. And this is what was wrong with our society. Now, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it reads that the Creator has allowed Baal to tempt y'all, Baal, to tempt y'all with sexual misconduct, with financial gain, and false doctrine. Now, those things are laid in your path, people. I'm not on a tangent here. I'm trying to show y'all something. When that type of thing is laid in front of you, the Creator is testing you. The whole world went through the biggest test of all, and they failed. And I said this over and over again, and people are so busy trying to look at titles. People are so busy trying to look at were you a woman, whether you old or young, whether you black or white, whether you from this country or that country, whether you this or that. They're so busy looking at titles, and they ain't looking at the big picture. The world failed our children. We failed our children, people. There is no safe place for a 9-year-old to go. There's no safe place. Who fault is that? We made our decisions, y'all, as a people, as a whole. Remember Sodom and Gomorrah? The Creator told Abraham that if you can find one righteous person, I'll save it. Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed. Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed because the people had become so obsessed with gain. They had no boundaries anymore. They was just doing whatever, whenever. They were failing at the test of sexual perversion. They was failing at the test of financial gain, and they was failing at the test of false doctrine. And we're in that season again. And instead of it being 4 different towns this time, it's the world. It's the world. Y'all, I don't expect no likes or anything on my channel. I don't expect to be getting a bunch of hoorays and all that kind of stuff. Y'all, I've learned since I was early teenager that people hate it when you expose their wickedness. People hate it. They want you to jump on the bandwagon and give them excuses and pat them on the back and say, these things are okay. I never did. When I was married to my second husband, he used to tell me all the time, you are going to say such and such is wrong. So that's why I don't like saying stuff to you, because you're going to say it's wrong. Why would I say something is right if it's not right? You're going to say this is wrong. You're going to say that is wrong. And then some years down the line, after me and him divorced, because I divorced his behind, I left his ass. He didn't, because after I realized what situation I was in the middle of, because it wasn't just him, it was his family too. I didn't want to judge his family. I got around his family on purpose and started watching things. And I was like, nope, I got to get out of here and got to get my kids away from this. I started doing me an exit plan, and I didn't tell him, because I was living around his family. It wouldn't have been nothing for me to show up missing. It would have been nothing. I didn't tell him I was leaving him until the day that I was leaving, and I made sure that it was set up that they had stuff to do, and while I was packing up my stuff, and I left half the stuff to him, and because in Texas it's community property, so I left half of the stuff in the house, and I took half, and I left. And then let me show you how wicked the people I was around when I grew up. Do you know that they, even though they disowned me and my family, they invited this man and his family into my family? And I told them what was going on with them, and I told them why I left. And in 2022, my son was visiting me. One of my sons was visiting me, and he gets on the phone with my son, and he puts him on the phone, and he goes, I get to go around your family. Your whole family hates you. And I'm looking at him like, you ain't hurting my feelings, buddy. Because I grew up around people who blame 9-year-olds. Who blame 9-year-olds for being molested by an adult. I don't, you ain't impressing me. You ain't impressing me. All you are doing is confirming why I left you. All he did was confirm that I did the right thing by getting away from his ass and getting away from my family. All he did was confirm it. Because why would you take a stranger into your family? And the only reason they knew this man is because I met him. But they was willing to take this man into the family. And I told them the reason why I left that man. Ain't nobody children safe around that man. And they was like, welcome into the family. All they did was confirm the reason why I need to stay away from them. And why I do stay away from them. Why I delineated away from them. You ain't impressing me. Now, I did a little study, a little study earlier today, and I'm going to give y'all some precepts to go look up. So the creator says that when this new reset is going to come, it's going to be like the shaking of the olive tree. That the creator is going to leave a small remnant of faithful people after judgment. So this appears in Isaiah 17:6, Isaiah 24:13, Jeremiah 6:9, Jeremiah 49:9, Ezekiel 6:8, Ezekiel 14:22. It also appears in 2nd Esdras chapter 16, 2nd Baruch chapter 29, and Psalms 128. So in Psalms 128, it's going to be Psalms 128 portrays that there will be a survival, a protection of a small amount of people. But the other one says it depicts, it's the imagery that the survival and the ultimate restoration of people or the remnant is going to be a small amount of people. It's going to be a small amount of people. So let me get my little tablet and I'll read these precepts to y'all, and then that's going to be it. But I needed to show you the test that the Creator had given to me to bring me down a different path. And it made me look upside people's head and look at them and pay attention to them and listen to their conversation. This is why I don't live with nobody. This is why I don't nothing, because if you sit, my grandma used to say it takes 2 years. You sit and talk to somebody for a while, you're going to get who they truly are deep down in their heart. And for me people, a deal breaker, if you don't want to protect children, I don't want to be around you. I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't want nothing to do with you if you don't want to protect children. I heard it said, if a person doesn't want to protect children and don't want to protect the disabled, they're wicked. I heard somebody say this when I was younger. They don't want to protect children and they don't want to protect the disabled. They're wicked. Why? But I want to be around anybody, y'all. Anybody that will blame a baby or, because that's a baby. A 9-year-old is a baby, y'all. It's a baby. That's a baby. You don't know nothing at 9 other than what somebody told you and showed you. You can't take care of yourself. You can't do nothing. You can only do as much as an adult allow you to do, and you only know as much as an adult teach you. The things I learned, I had to learn them on my own because I had to get away from the adults and go read books and figure out what was going on. I had to figure out that people would actually want to hurt little boys that way. I had to figure out through trial and error that the government does not care about us. You know how many people I actually reported when I found out? Do you know how many people that they even went and investigated? 3. 3. 3. So no, I'm not impressed by these people. Some of you people may be impressed by these positions that these people have. Oh, he's the sheriff, or he's the lawyer, or she's a judge, or she's this. But they're all turning a blind eye to this stuff, y'all. They all turning a blind eye to this stuff. And then I know I'm protected by the Creator. How do I know? Because if y'all knew how many people I actually done turned in, and I didn't hide who I was. I ain't hide who I was. I ain't hide who I was. I never told y'all that I went anonymously and turned people in. No, I went and turned these people in, and I let them people know who I was, what was told to me, and I went before the courts and I went and told them. This is why America is being found guilty. This is why the government been found guilty, because I let them know what these children said, and I went and told these people, and they did nothing. The Creator tests people. Y'all need to get in the book and read the book. The Creator tests people. The Creator tests people to see what's deeply down in your heart, and for you to ignore these things, but you keep wanting to sell your books and sell your products and sell and make money, but you don't care about what true justice is. You don't care about the children crying out. You don't care about people eating hungry, people being clothed. What you care about is money and making sure you got what you want. There's a difference between what you want and what you need. Nobody wants to delineate from the system. Everybody just wants to wrap themselves in it, and then they're waiting on somebody to swoop down and just solve it all. You know how the solving is going to happen? By the gleaming of the fruit trees, y'all. The Creator calls it the gleaning of the grapes and the shaking of the olive trees. And the Creator says, I will be leaving a small remnant of faithful people after judgment. Y'all, I woke up out of my sleep, and this is what was on my mind. Where I'm at is 1 o'clock in the morning. For y'all, it's probably like 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's look up these few precepts, and then I'm going to get off of here. Let's go to Isaiah 17. I told you this book isn't a book of religion. It's a book of prophecies. And the Creator says, I will never do anything without telling y'all first. So why am I here? Verse 4, Isaiah 17. Now in that day, the former glory of the house of Jacob, his mighty population and his prosperity will fade, and the fatness of the flesh will become lean, and it will be like a reaper gathering the standing grain. As his arm harvests the ears of grain, yes, it will be like one gleaning ears of grain in the fertile valley of Rephaim. Yet the gleaning will be left in the land. Sorry, I actually didn't touch the thing up. Yet the gleaning will be left in the land, like the shaking of an olive tree. There will be 2 or 3 olives on the topmost branch, 4 or 5 on the outermost branches of the fruit tree. declares the Creator, the power of Israel. And in that day, man will have regarded for his Maker, and his eyes will regard the Holy One of Israel with awe-inspired reverence. And the man will no longer regard for the idolatrous altars and the works of the hand, nor will they look to which his fingers have made, neither symbols of the goddess Asherah, nor the incense of the altars. In that day, the strong cities of Aram and Israel will be like the desert place in the forest, and like the branches which they abandoned before the children of Israel. The strong cities of Aram and Israel will be like the desert place in the forest, and like the branches which they abandoned before the children of Israel, and the land will be desolate. Just read Isaiah 17, verses 4 through 9. We need Isaiah 24. Verse 7. The new wine mourns, the vine decays. All the merry-hearted sigh and groan. The mirth of the timbrels, the tambourines cease. The noise of those who rejoice ends. The joy of harp ceases. They do not drink wine with great song anymore. Strong drink is now bitter to those who drink it. The city of chaos is broken down. Every house is shut up, so there is no one to enter it. There is an outcry in the street concerning the wine. All jubilation is darkened. The joy of the earth is banished. Horrible desolation is left in the city, and the gate is battered into ruins. For so it will be in the midst of the earth among all the peoples, as the shaking of an olive tree, as the gleaming of when grape harvest is over, and only a little of the fruit remains. And they who escape and remain will raise their voices, and they will shout for joy. They rejoice from the Mediterranean Sea in the majesty of the Creator. Therefore, honor and glorify the Creator in the east, in the region of the light, in the name of the Creator, the power of Israel. Honor the Creator, His name, in the coastlands and the islands of the Mediterranean Sea. From the ends of the earth, we hear songs, glory and honor of the righteous people. But I say, waste away, woe to those the treacherously who dealt treacherously. Indeed, the treacherous will deal very treacherously, and terror and pit of destruction and the snare will comfort you, O inhabitants of the earth. Then it will be that he who flees of the sound of terror will fall in the pit, and one who comes up out of the pit will be caught in a snare. And for the windows of heaven are open, and the foundations of the earth will tremble. The earth is broken completely apart. The earth will split apart, and the earth will shake violently. And the earth will reel back and forth like a drunkard, and sways like a shack. Why? Because the transgression lies heavily upon the earth, and its transgression will fall and not rise again. So it will happen in that day that the Creator will visit and punish all the fallen angels of on heaven on high and all the wicked kings on earth, and they will together be gathered as prisoners or gathered in a dungeon, and they will be shut up in the prison and not come again, and they will be visited and they will be punished. That is Isaiah 24. What's the next one? Jeremiah 5. Nope, Jeremiah 6. Verse 5. Arise, let us awaken to attack her at night and destroy her fortified places. For the Creator, the authority of the host, has said, cut down her trees and build a siege mound against Jerusalem. This is the city which must be punished. There is nothing but oppression inside of her walls. As a fountain springs up and pours out its refreshing water, so shall she continually pour out her fresh wickedness. Violence and destruction are heard inside of her walls. Sickness and wounds are always before me. The Creator says, I see all the sickness that they do, and destruction that they do, and the wickedness that they do, and the wounds that they cause. It says, be wise and be warned, O Jerusalem, or I will be alienated from you and make you a desolation in an uninhabited land. Thus says the Creator, Hail, the authority of the host in heaven. They will thoroughly gather like fruit on the vine what is left of Israel. Pass your hand over the vine again and again, Babylon, my tool of destruction, like a great gathering. Over the branches, strip the tendrils of the vine. Did you hear that? There will only be a few grapes left after the gathering. Let's go to Jeremiah 14. Therefore, verse 17, therefore, Jeremiah, you will say this word to them. Let my eyes flow with tears night and day. Let them never cease. For the virgin daughter of my people have been crushed with a great blow, with a very serious stone and severely infected wound. If I go out into the field, then I gaze on those slaughtered with the sword. And if I enter the city, then I gaze on those tormented with the disease of famine. For both prophet and priest, who should have guided the people, they go about bewildered and exiled in the land of Babylon, that they do not know or understand. Have you, O Creator, completely rejected Judah? Do you loathe Zion? Why have you stricken us so that there is no healing for us? We looked for peace and completeness, but nothing came. We hoped for a time of healing, but behold, there is terror. We know and acknowledge, O Creator, our wickedness and the iniquities of our fathers, for we have sinned against you. Do not treat us with contempt and condemn us for your own name's sake. Do not disgrace your glorious throne. Remember with consideration and do not break your solemn covenant with us. Are there any among the idols of the nations who can send rain, or can the heavens of their own will give shower? It is not you, the Creator, our power. Therefore, we will wait and hope confidently in you. For you are the one who has made all things, and the heavens and the rain. They have done what? All the wickedness on the earth. And the Creator is going to do what? Allow Babylon to do what? Lead us away into our own destruction. It says, we're going to, in verse 18, we will be slaughtered by the sword and tormented by the disease of famine. Both prophet and priest should have guided the people, but they didn't. They go about bewildered in the land of Babylon, and they do not know and do not understand the path of the Creator. Hell, they don't understand it. Let's go to Ezekiel 6 and 8. And what I'm reading now is the Amplified Bible, y'all. The Amplified Bible, the AMP, not the AMPC. It's the AMP. It's not Ezekiel 6, Ezekiel. No, that was Ezekiel 6. That's right. Verse 1. And the word of the Creator came to me and said, Son of man, set your face against the mountains of Israel and prophesy against them and say, You mountains of Israel, hear the words of the Creator, our authority and power. Thus says the Creator, our authority and power, to the mountains and to the hills, to the ravines and to the valleys. Behold, I myself am going to bring a sword on you. I will destroy your high places of idolatrous worship, and your altars will become desert, and your pillars for sun worship will be smashed in pieces. Sun, S-U-N, worship will be smashed in pieces. And I will throw down your slain in front of your idols that cannot bring them back to life. I will also lay the dead bodies of the children of Israel in front of their Canaanite idols. It says Canaanite idols, y'all. And I will scatter your bones all around your altars. Everywhere you live, the cities will become, so everywhere that they live, the cities will become what? Wastelands. We got sent to the four corners of the earth. Verse 6. Everywhere you live, your cities will become wasteland, and your high places will become deserted, so that your altars may bear their guilt and become deserted. Your idols may be broken and destroyed. Your incense altars for your sun worship may be cut down, and work your works may be blotted out. The slain will fall among you. Then you shall know without any shadow of the doubt that it is I, the Creator, have. Yet I will leave some of you alive, a remnant, for you will have some who escape the sword among the nations when you are scattered throughout the countries. Then those of you who escape will remember me among the nations to which they exiled, and how I have been broken by their lewdness and their adulterous heart, which have turned away from me, and by their eyes which lust after their idols. And they will loathe themselves for the evils which they have committed, for all their repulsive acts. Then they will know without a shadow of any doubt that I am the Creator, the first, the last, the beginning and the end. I am Yah. I have not said this in vain, that I will bring disaster and punish them. Okay? I just read verse 1. I'll read to 10. Ezekiel 14. Verse 12. These are the words that came again to me, saying, Son of man, if a land sins against me by committing unfaithfulness, I will stretch out my hand against it and destroy its source of bread, send famine on it, and cut off from it both man and animal. Even if these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in that land by their own righteousness, right standing with the Creator, they could only save and deliver themselves. I'm going to say this again. You can only save and deliver yourself. I cannot help my neighbor. You cannot help your children. You cannot help your parents. They have to make their own decisions. I'm going to say this again. Verse 14. Even if these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in that land by their own righteousness, right standing with the Creator, they cannot save and deliver. They could only save, and deliver themselves, says the Creator, our authority and power. If I were to cause predatory beasts to pass through the land, and they ravaged it and depopulated it of children, and it became desolate so that no one would pass through because of the predators. These three men were in the land, as I live, says the Creator, they could not save either their sons or their daughters. They alone would be saved, but the land would be desolate, ruined, and deserted. Or if I were to bring a sword on the land and say, let a sword go through the land and cut off man and animal from it, even though these three men were in the land, as I live, says the Creator, the authority and our power, they could not save either their sons or daughters, but they alone would be saved. Or if I should send a virtual disease into the land and pour out my wrath in blood on it to cut off man and animal, even though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in the land, As I live, says the Creator, our authority and power, they could not save either their son or their daughter. They would save only themselves by their righteous acts. That is, their right standing with the Creator. Their moral and spiritual integrity is what will save them. I'm reading what it says, y'all. Their moral and spiritual integrity is what will save them. For thus says the Creator, our authority, how much more when I send my four severe judgment against Jerusalem, which is the sword, the famine, the predatory beast, and violent disease, to cut off man and animal from it. Y'all, this is a future prophecy, because the Creator says, wherever we send in the other nations. Yet behold, the survivors will be left in it and escape the judgment, both sons and daughters. Listen carefully. They're going to come out to you in Babylon, and you will see their wicked conduct and their despicable actions. Then you will be at peace in regarding to the disaster which I have brought against Jerusalem, for everything which I have brought on it has been deserved. Then they will reassure you in regarding to the appropriateness of these judgments. When you see their heinous conduct and acts, for you will know that I have not done these things without cause. Whatever I did to it, declares the Creator, they deserve it. I ain't write this. Y'all, I ain't write this. There's no way I could have known this. There's no way I could have known this. I ain't write this. Y'all, my experience as a teenager. I saw the world is guilty of, what is the word used here? Wicked conduct and despicable actions. That's verse 22. The world is guilty of wicked conduct and despicable actions. The Creator says, then you will be at peace in regard to the disaster which I have brought against these people. Come on. I'm just here to warn you that the sword is coming. That's my job. I can't save you. There's no pastor, there's no priest, there's nobody. The Creator said it will be you that saves you. You have to delineate from the wickedness of this earth. And if you're okay with this stuff, then if you're looking the other way, if you don't try to prevent it, if you don't try to stop it, the Creator will protect you in it, y'all. Y'all, these people knew who I was, and I was going up to the courthouse reporting these people. Going to the jails reporting these people. Going to the police station reporting these people. All those people who stood there and turned a blind eye to all of that stuff is guilty. That's from the most richest to the poorest, the highest title to the lowest title. And this is from state to state. I did this in Alabama. I did this in Mississippi. I did this in Louisiana. I did this in Texas. I did this in Tennessee. And I did it here in Colorado. And they didn't care about these children. They ain't care nothing about these children. Nothing. The Creator says it's their despicable acts. And the Creator said you're going to recognize. The righteous will recognize why the Creator is making this decision. The Creator had to show me with my own two eyes. I saw it. I heard it. I experienced it. I came up against it. So the Creator coming and shaking this earth and gathering all the wickedness out this earth, they deserve it. Everybody who had something to do with it, whether you just turn a blind eye to it or whether you signed off on paperwork to help these people hurt somebody. Now, with that being said, I'm going to end this video. And I pray that you heed this warning that the sword is coming. Ezekiel 33 says when a watchman see the sword coming, he's supposed to warn. The Creator says, I'm coming by famine, I'm coming by beast, I'm coming by the sword, and I'm coming by pestilence. The Creator's on his way. And the Creator is the master of war. You will not win. Can nobody save you. Nobody can die for your sin. Whatever happens to you is because you made your choice. Let's give all praise and all glory and all esteem to the only Creator, the only Redeemer, and the only Savior. That is the Creator. Hail. Hallelujah.